This is the Note Closers Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am Scott Carson, your host of the Note Closers Show podcast. It is a wonderful day. It is hump day. What day is it? It is hump day here in the offices in Austin, Texas, and we are rocking and rolling along here, knocking out some great stuff. I know we are prepping. I'm really, really excited because I'm already starting to implement 2018 goals in stuff today. Stuff that we probably should have implemented in 2017 with some of the things. So like I got Nicole over here doing some postcard marketing out to investors for workshops. We got some other marketing for raising capital for some bigger trades. We're working on our last Note Funding League tape of the year, actually. We agreed to do that, right, Jen?
Yes, sir.
Greg is working on knocking out some assets so we can get sold, some REO stuff, also these contract for deeds that we've bought that are vacant. So it is a very, very productive day, productive week. I'm excited. We are rocking and rolling out to San Diego. Viva San Diego. Keep it classy, San Diego, for the Magnify Your Wealth Summit tomorrow, which is Friday through Sunday with our good buddy Aaron Young. I'm excited to see Michelle Young, who's emceeing the event, which will be great because just the two of them are just a great couple and really, really good friends of ours. So, but anyway, today's topic is something that keeps popping up. It's something that we reiterate. I think we're probably the only people in the actual true note industry that teach this aspect, as far as I know, because a lot of the other gurus or note educators will tell you that you can't buy direct from banks. And we all know that is a crock of lies. You can buy directly from the bank. We had our episode a couple weeks ago with Adam Adams and Joe Banarina and Jimmy Kubiak, who just took down a list of assets from a San Antonio bank. And I've been buying bank direct notes for years from the likes of Wells Fargo on commercial deals and Capital One, just to name a few of those out there that we do buy from on a pretty, not to say regular basis, because banks, their inventory of non-performing notes fluctuates throughout the year. But if you are doing the right things and reaching out on a regular basis, you can definitely find some good assets that nobody else is seeing. So that's what today's episode is all about. The do's and don'ts, the what do you say, what don't you say when it comes to buying notes. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast, thank you on this. You're catching the recording. If you're listening or watching live on Facebook Live or on our recorded videos on WeCloseNotes.tv or our YouTube channel, thank you as always. Make sure to leave a review or what you like or questions or comments. As always, if you're watching on Facebook Live, make sure to ask your comments. We'll make sure that Nicole's over there moderating the screen to make sure and be able to interrupt me with any relevant questions that follow up. So, but anyway, why call banks? So I will give you this episode kind of not only started with questions after the episode with Adam, Jamie, and Joe, it also kind of spawned itself from this last weekend when I was in Cincinnati speaking at Ohio REIA. And what's kind of funny, when I'm speaking in front of a couple hundred people, I try to make eye contact with as many people as possible to make them feel comfortable. I have stories I tell. We laugh quite a bit throughout my presentation. I poke fun at myself. I'm not afraid to be my silly but very serious self. And what's funny is I often get a lot of realtors into the thing when they hear about opportunities for REOs and things like that. Well, I had one gentleman, I won't say his age, but he's a little bit grayer in the season. He had a little bit more snow on the mountain, okay? And I'm watching this guy as I'm talking nod off. Literally. By halfway through my hour 15 presentation, he nods off. Literally nods off. And if he'd been sitting closer, I would have probably chunked something at him. All right, hey, wake up. We're gone up to him and slapped his hands, or my hands in front of him. But I don't want to scare somebody, give him a heart attack. But anyway, so we get near the end of the presentation, he wakes back up and says, well, you can't call banks. I tried doing this a couple years ago. I'm like, wait a second. Knowing he probably didn't know that I saw that he dozed off. I'm like, wait a second. What do you mean? Because, well, I used to call for REOs. And this drives me bonkers when people say, well, I want to buy REOs and notes. I'm like, listen, dude, you were sleeping through when I told you. You don't call banks and ask for notes and REOs. So that's the first rule, okay? If you're going to call on banks and asset managers, look, if you're looking for REOs, just stick to the REO game. Don't try bothering calling banks. You're not going to find any. The reason is, not are, bad grammar there. The reason is, if you're looking for REOs, the banks have already foreclosed. They've already got it listed. They're not going to take the time to sell you stuff in a large pool. You call on a bank and REO department, they're going to say, leave a message or call the listing agent to sell it. All right? So we're not going to talk about REOs. If you're looking for REOs, this is not the podcast or the episode for you. Go listen to somebody else's. But anyway, the internal departments inside the banks that handle the note sales aren't customer service. It's not loss mitigation. So if you're a short sale negotiator, if you dealt with short sales in the past, stop thinking that you know where to go, because you don't, okay? The internal departments of the banks are known by basically 2 or 3 titles. First one is secondary marketing, okay? And you're looking for secondary marketing managers, all right? That's the first one. The second title is special assets department or special assets managers. All right. Those are the 2 titles. You also have chief credit risk officer, or, that's the third one, chief credit risk desk. Okay. Those 3 will encompass probably 95% of the asset managers that handle note sales. So when you call a bank, importantly, don't call the 1-800 customer service line. They're going to run you around. You have to call the bank's main corporate office. Now, how do you find the main corporate office? Well, first of all, you don't Google it, okay? What you want to do is drop a little bit of money, like $150 to sign up for Lane Guide, LANEGUIDE. LaneGuide.com is about $150 a year. Once you become a member of it, you can do a banking type search. There's all sorts of search engines on here to help you identify true banking relationships. Now, it's not going to tell you about hedge funds, okay? This is direct who. Lane Guide keeps track of what bank is still in business and who has bought who and other things like that. So it's a good tracking system if you've seen a deed with an older bank that's no longer in business, finding out who bought that asset, who's the actual final lender on it. But Lane Guide publishes the main corporate office numbers for most of these. Now, also, what's really great about Lane Guide that I love it, even though it's not the most up-to-date search engine, but it will often, on the larger institutions, will give you the special assets department and sometimes the special asset manager's names and emails, okay? The reason I don't talk about addresses and stuff like that is you're not going to send a postcard or a yellow letter or something to a bank asset manager. That philosophy of marketing, no offense, is in the 20th century, and I'm going to piss the people off that way. You're in the 21st century, okay? You're going to use a computer and email for the most part and a phone to follow up with these people, okay? You're not going to send postcards out to asset managers. The only direct mail market we do is for raising capital, all right, to IRA investors, and that's a separate topic that we'll get into later on, or I think we maybe have covered it already. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is you're going to call the main corporate office, main switchboard operator, and try to get a hold of the secondary marketing managers or the special assets department, okay, or chief credit risk, okay? You never want to say REO. You don't want to say that anywhere in your discussion with these people. Why? If you mention REO, they're going to instantly send you to the REO department, and you're a waste of time, okay? What are you asking for? That's always a good question. What do I ask when I actually call? You're asking for the special asset managers, and then if they transfer you, or if they don't know what to transfer, tell me I'm looking for your bad loans. I'm looking for your loans that aren't paying. I'm looking for your portfolio manager, your warehouse line managers. Those are some nice buzzwords that work well. If a bank has a warehouse line, get transferred to the warehouse line manager or the business development side of that aspect, and it'll often lead to helping you find some notes that these banks have on their portfolios. Or they'll know of some mortgage bankers that they've given warehouse lines to that have defaulted loans on that they need to get off their books. So asking for non-performing notes, and this is where you want to be, this is where you're going to try to have your 30-second elevator pitch on the phone if you get a hold of somebody, or leaving a voicemail You want to speak clearly and slowly, and you want to do it with a smile. Yes, speaking with a smile is not the easiest thing, but nobody wants to listen to this is Scott Carson. I wanted to see if you have any notes for sale. Please call me. I need to buy some stuff now. You laugh, but I've heard people do that. So you want to be energetic on the phone so people pay attention to you, okay? And if you do talk to somebody having a bad day, energy is contagious across the phone. Try to be in a good mood. Don't be in a bad mood because nobody wants to do business with a Debbie Downer, okay? You avoid the Debbie Downers out there. All right? So say, hi, my name is Scott Carson. I'm a company called WeCloseNotes.com. I was wanting to see if you were the correct person at your bank that handles your distressed loan sales or your non-performing loan sales or your toxic loan sales. If you are, I'd love to visit with you. I can be reached back directly at 512-585-3810. Once again, 512-585-3810. Or send me a direct email at scott@weclosenotes.com. Now, one thing that's important, always mention your phone number twice. Why? People can't write down very fast. Say it slow, all right? And then also your email that you leave, you want to try to leave an email that's very easy. You don't want something, my name is Scott Johnson at blank, 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 blank. You want to keep it easy, sweet, all right? Best if you can do that really, really short. If you have a long and difficult email address or something that's, you have a letter replacing something, that makes it more difficult, okay? So the biggest thing to keep in mind calling banks is it's something you have to do over and over and over again. It's not, now don't get me wrong, I've had people that have called banks and gotten the right person, right off the bat. First phone call, they got something. I know it also took me 54 phone calls to get my first yes, okay? So the key to this is setting up a spreadsheet is usually the easiest thing for you to track who you called, when you called, what number you called, and emails and people's names, okay? Especially you're going to get probably a lot of gatekeepers like assistants or secretaries, and their job is to filter you from talking to their boss, make it relevant. So this is what I say. If I get somebody on the phone, they're like, well, so-and-so's busy. Well, can I get their phone number, direct line, or email? I know they may be busy. I just want to drop them an email and it'll probably be easier and faster that way. Sometimes they'll give you the email address. Now, sometimes they'll like, well, no. So, well, can I get your email? You're obviously a great assistant or a great executive, whatever your job title is. Can I email you what I'm reaching out to John for over there? And would you be willing to forward that to me and we go back and forth? And that often solves it. And so if they won't give you the person's direct email address, but they give you theirs, like say it's Nicole Herman at ABC United, okay? Is that Nicole.Herman? Yes, okay. So if and your boss's name is what? John Davis. I guess John's email is probably john.davis at blank bank, okay? Little tricks. Now, you have to realize to have any type of success, you need to be making probably 50 to 100 phone calls in a week. Now, I say that in a week because a lot of people are working or they don't have batches and they're not used to doing this. Making 100 phone calls or 50 phone calls in a day is daunting work. Look, I used to knock out 50 phone calls 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And by the end, come Thursday, Friday, I was getting bombarded with phone calls and emails back. Or also, if I had to make more phone calls, I was starting to sound like Elma Fudd because my tongue was let it go. Thick, all right? So, important thing, calling a secondary marketing or special assets department, be short and sweet. And also have an idea to tell them what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for non-performing first mortgages. We buy in most major metroplexes cities, or most major markets. They ask you what your price range. Hey, we like the residential homes under $500,000. We will go down to $50,000 depending on where it's at. And then they're going to ask you pricing expectations. Well, it depends on where the asset's at. If it's in foreclosure, what kind of condition it's in. But we will go up to 60, 65% of fair market value if it's in really good shape and near foreclosure. Okay, that's not giving you that. That's not saying you're not going to pay 25 or 30 cents on the balance on it. But it was also saying you're not going to pay 65, 70 cents on the dollar every time either, because it all depends on the situation and the asset. So your biggest goal is to get the tape, is to get the list of assets if you can. Just literally get the tape sent to you. You don't want to be picky. Well, I only buy in this one zip code of Phoenix or this one zip code of Vegas. No, you start doing that, look, go do something else. Don't waste your time. Don't wait the asset manager time and make it even harder on those that are actually calling to get stuff in. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is calling asset managers are great, but you want to be a little bit broader on your specification. Now, if you're talking to a bank who has never sold before, which this happens occasionally, we had 2 people reach out to me in the last couple of weeks. Hey, do you have a spreadsheet? So I sent them over a spreadsheet. Hey, here's what we need them to fill out. They should be able, if they've got any type of servicing or payment software, to do a direct export to it. And the biggest things that you're going to definitely need is the borrower's name, full address, when they all the specifics of the note, when it was originated, last payment, next payment due, interest rate, P&I payment, what's owed, all that good stuff, and other specifics, payment streams. Sometimes you'll get the Social Security number or the FICO scores for the borrower, property values, what the loan was originally written for and original value of it. So if you've got any questions about kind of what we're covering, now's the time to ask those. If you're listening or watching on the Facebook live stream, go ahead and ask those questions. We'll be glad to get over to you. But it's important to keep in mind, your goal is to get the spreadsheet and get in front of them. Get a tape in, get a tape back, and we can do a lot of stuff with it. If you try to be very specific in the front end, now, don't get me wrong, some banks you'll talk to, we're only lending in Ohio. Okay, great. What do you have in Ohio? Okay, what do you have? How often do you sell? Do you sell on a monthly basis? Sell on a quarterly basis? Okay. Now, a really great tool to help you kind of filter through some things is Distress Pro. The one caveat about Distress Pro is it will give you a lot of information, and you can spend a lot of time reading on information and not making phone calls. So that's one of the biggest things you want to do. I'm a big believer of, hey, if you pull a list off of Lane Guide, 50 to 100, and you're making phone calls and emails out to these asset managers, it's a shotgun approach. Somebody's going to say something, or somebody's going to respond if you do it. Now, I think the most effective way is a couple of ways of doing this. You could just start calling, boom, 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 right out of the bat, like I used to, like the whole financial advisor way, making 50 to 100 phone calls. Out of 50 phone calls, you'll probably talk to 14 people on average. Okay, some of the time that's higher, sometimes it's less. You probably get 3 to 4 non-disclosures sent to you in roughly 1 tape, whether it's 1 asset or 1,000 assets sent to you. Okay. Now the thing to keep in mind, you may go over 50, but then you may go 26 for 50. It's all in the follow-up, the average. So 80% of sales are made after the 5th follow-up. So how do you expedite that 5th contact quickly versus it taking you 5 weeks of phone calls? So what I like to do is, if I can make phone calls, that's kind of number 2 for me, unless, of course, I have everybody's direct email address, okay? Now, when we've pulled a list of asset managers, what we do is, boom, send an email out to the asset manager list. We'll get about a 12 to 20% open rate off of those, and I can see literally everybody who touched an email, whoever opened it or clicked on it 1, 2, 3, or 4 times. Now, if they're in my database already, then I can just pick up the phone and call those people that opened it, all right? Now, the effective thing is, when you send an email out to asset managers, the best time to send them out is like you would normally to anybody else, usually at 11 o'clock, all right before lunch, or right before the end of the day, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, okay? Those are very helpful times to do that. Now, what you don't want to do is send it out on a Saturday or a Friday after 3 o'clock. It's worthless. Send an email Friday at 3 o'clock, because what's going to happen, they're not going to read it probably because they're out of the office. And then when they get back in on Monday, it's buried with other stuff. So don't send an email out Friday at 3 o'clock to the asset managers. I just don't like to send it unless it's a follow-up email from phone calls or correspondence on a Thursday. All right. So best time to call asset managers, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, between 10 and noon, their time, and 2 and 5 p.m. their time in the afternoons. Okay. Now, one of the great things about our virtual note buying for dummies workshop is we're going to actually be making some phone calls to asset managers this time around. So our next class is December 15th, 16th, and 17th. And when we spend the first full day of that workshop literally going through how to track down asset managers, what to say, what not to say, some of the scripts, also some of the follow-up emails that we do. I'm literally giving you basically what we do on a regular basis around here with some things. So it's important. If you want to get signed up for that, you can go to weclosenotes.com to RSVP your spot to that class before the end of the year. So Like I said, best time to email, best time to call 10 to 12, 2 to 5. I would not, like I said, another time that's kind of interesting to call is like the after 5 p.m. on a Thursday night, like the third Thursday of the month. Why? Because usually they're working on month end or quarterly end reports for the higher ups, and their administrator or their assistant has left for the day after 5. So they're in the office, and sometimes you can catch them directly by just calling them after hours, right? Sometimes it works for the third Saturday of the month too. They may be in on a Saturday between 10 and 1 or 10 and 2, trying to knock stuff out so they can have a fun week, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. But literally, a lot of these guys are taking off Friday afternoons, or they're going playing golf or doing other things like we would normally do. So that's something to keep in mind, all right? Question. Somebody had a question out there, Nicole?
Yeah. Robert asked, how quickly do you follow up? I mean, I called yesterday and the gatekeeper said I would get a call back in a few hours. Do you call daily? In other words, what do you do what point do you become a pain in the ass?
I don't mind being a pain in the ass, okay? Now, if they tell me, I'll give you an example. One of my favorite movies is Wall Street. And there's this scene in Wall Street where Bud Fox, after like 50 days straight, finally gets a meeting with Gordon Gekko. And Gordon Gekko says, they should put your face in the dictionary under consistent, all right? Or I may have the wrong word, all right? But anyway, diligent and following up on it. Look, if they told you they have a phone call in a couple hours, it's okay. Pick up the phone call. Hey, just want to follow up. I know you got a busy Tuesday. It's Wednesday. I just want to follow up. You know, if you leave a voicemail, great. Look, I say give it 24 to 48 hours, okay? Give them that to get the stuff done. Now, beyond that, they're going to be pretty slammed. And, well, you got to realize these asset managers are often busy and they don't care. Now, if you talk to the assistant, it's okay. Hey, just want to follow up. I didn't get that call back you mentioned and just wanted to do a friendly reminder call to touch base with you. Look, just normal business operations. Robert, whoever's out there, if you've run any type of a business, you appreciate the people that follow up because it shows that they're diligent. Okay. What you don't want to do is be the person that calls once and then never follows back up ever again. There's enough of those people out there. So follow up. I would say give it 24, 48 hours. If you call on a Tuesday, all right, call on Tuesday after and you make contact and they promise you something with 24 or 48 hours, follow up with an email. All right. Before you hang up, say, hey, just in case I don't hear, can I get your email address so I can follow up with you, sending you a friendly reminder or anything like that? Because a lot of times these people work better via email. Okay. Now, if they give you the email and you follow up and they don't respond to the email, then I'd pick up the phone and give them a phone call. Now, if you're cold calling out of the blue too, a nice thing to do as well is to see if that person, whether it's the asset manager, the gatekeeper, whoever it may be, has a LinkedIn profile. You can go in, type the person's name, or if you're looking for secondary marketing at ABC Wholesale Mortgage, all right, whatever. Type that in, special assets, and see if that person pops up or one of the people pops up. And then you can maybe contact them directly via LinkedIn with a direct mail or connection, that kind of stuff. So that works really well too, because we've done that before, especially when I was working initially as a mortgage banker at night. I would go home, boom, send an email via InMail or LinkedIn connection to asset manager. And then one night I knocked out 150 connections and I ended up getting like 3 tapes off of it, which is well worth me sitting there because I was just literally watching a movie and I could literally copy, paste for the most part. So that's the thing to keep in mind. This is something that's building business long-term for you. It may not be instant gratification, okay? And if you get a hold of somebody, great, hey, and they say they don't have anything right now, hey, awesome. What's the best way to contact you in the future? Email, phone number, and drop you an email once a month just to touch base with you. Do you mind if I do that? And most of the time they don't care. Now, if they say, yeah, I don't want anything, that's fine. I would still go ahead and do it. If you can get their email address, still go and drop them an email or pick up the phone call and leave them a friendly reminder. I don't want to say you're annoying them, but you want them to know that you're due diligent, okay? You're diligent in following up on a regular basis with them so oh, well, this person's different than the 30 or 40 people we've gotten that'll call us looking for stuff. And the thing is to keep in mind too is listen, if they ask you how much you're looking to buy, just be, hey, I got $250,000 or I got $500,000 I'm looking to invest before the quarter's up, or $1 million plus. If they ask you how you're funded, hey, I have plenty of private investors behind me. stuff like that. Very, 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 very rarely will the asset managers ask you to proof up on the front end. Doesn't happen. This is what's so great about the note business, because when I got started, I didn't have any money. The market had downturn, okay? So I was literally calling dollar for dollars, and people would send me a list, and they would give me, it was a list that nobody else saw. And most banks don't make you put it under contract with an escrow, with escrow money, or earnest money, I mean. So I could literally go out and try to market these tapes and find an investor to get things done. And so I'd find, hey, I got a deal I'm working through. I'd ask pricing. One of the biggest things you have to ask, if you do get a list, what's your pricing expectations on this? What's the color that you're looking to sell these assets for? What's the discount? Where are you looking? Now, they say, I want par. Don't waste your time sending me an email. Oh, they want par for this. Or if it's a performing note, not worth your time. Scratch and dent, not really worth your time if it's less than 90 days in default. Okay, you want their ugly. You want the ugly assets. You want something with a little hairy. Okay, and what's that mean? It means something that's been default for 6 months or greater. That would be something to add. Hey, do you have anything on your books that's been default 6 months or greater that you're looking to get rid of? All right. Any other questions from anybody out there?
I'm sorry. Well, not a question, but more along comments of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Stephanie says that bear in mind that it does take at least 5 times to get sales. Kareem says it's easier for them to pick up the phone rather than looking for your phone number. Think of it as doing demo service. Stephanie says just use your words, call them back, following up is fine, especially when they're in the busy season.
Yes, when Steph started off, actually, she was one of the ones that was calling asset managers on a regular basis. This goes back a few years. Steph could knock them out. Actually, we did one mastermind years ago. You're going to love this. We took the mastermind members and we split them up into teams. And one day, this is when we used to do the mastermind. It's like 5 days long. So one day we had everybody call asset managers. Steph killed it. She blew everybody else in the water. She made like 60 secondary marketing contacts. It may be over 2 days. I don't remember exactly, but I knew it was at least one day. Her group slaughtered everybody else because she was boom, 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 boom. Wasn't scared to do that. And the ladies that are listening out there, you actually have an easier time at this than the guys do. Why? Because this is a male-dominated job, basically, on the secondary marketing or special asset side. It's not saying there's not women there, not being sexist. It's just, it is what it is. And guys, we're going to always call back the ladies first on our voicemails versus calling back the guys. It's just a case of what it is. It's human nature. It's not sexist or anything. It just is what it is. And so you might as well embrace it and realize it. So ladies, calling and knowing what you're doing can put you a step above your male competition when it comes to this. Okay, I know plenty of bank asset managers that would gladly send a list to the ladies that they wouldn't send a list to me like, oh no, I'm not going to bother sending it to you. All our Colorado stuff goes to such and such. I'm like, why? Isn't that sexist? I don't care, dude. So that's the thing to keep in mind. Ladies, if you're listening, this is something you can do at home. You can do when you're sitting in between whatever you're working on. If you've got breaks or you're a stay-at-home mom and your kids are off and napping or knocking out 100 to 200 phone calls in a day over a couple hours, can be something that works well with what you do. Now, the biggest thing I can tell you this is to track your phone calls. Okay, so if you call on a Tuesday and you leave a voicemail on Tuesday, follow back up on follow up on the Wednesday or Thursday to that same person until you actually get a hold of somebody. Okay, follow up, and you may want to do it instead if you call at 11 in the morning, maybe you call in the afternoon on Thursday. All right, the same thing goes for when you send an email out to your database. All right, if you send it at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, follow up by sending an email to those that didn't open up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday to those that didn't open it. Okay, you'll see your open rates go up when you combine the two together. Instead of at a 12 or 14, maybe at 20, 21, 22%. But the biggest thing is just creating a list. Build a list, names, phone numbers, email addresses. Helps to see, obviously, knowing what bank they work at is great. Keep track of that in your spreadsheet. So if you send an email out, you can do a mail merge relatively easy and say, hey, Steve, wanted to touch base with you, talk with you if you were the correct person at ABC Wholesale Mortgage to handle your distressed asset sale. Okay. One of the big things, too, if you're brand new to real estate investing, you've bought a house before, and they ask you how long you've been an investor, tell them, I bought my first house back in 2001. Maybe you weren't a true real estate investor, but for most people, their primary residence is going to be their main house, their house they own. And honestly, one thing that you should all keep in mind, if you're a real estate investor and you're calling asset managers, don't be embarrassed of being started or starting somewhere new. The biggest thing you can keep in mind is that you are actually putting your huevos out there to make these phone calls to build your business when all the people you're talking to on the phone are employees. They don't own the bank. They're not out there. They've got a salary, a cushy salary, things like that, but they still work for the man. Okay. If you're reaching out and calling asset managers, you are taking steps toward bettering yourself. You're taking yourself towards your dreams versus letting somebody dictate your dreams to you. So keep that in mind. That should keep you smiling. Trust me, you may get some rude people occasionally on the phone because they're having a bad day. Don't take it personally. Just hang up and move on and go on. Another thing too, if you goof up on the phone, you're going to get tongue-tied sometimes and say the things like, just hang up and call them back in 2 days because they're not going to remember you for the most part. Okay? Questions, comments? Okay? Look, calling asset managers can be a very, very fruitful thing if you do it on a regular basis. My biggest struggles was doing it when I started off on a regular basis, doing it regularly. And so I set a challenge for myself. Okay? This is important. I set a challenge for myself to have 100 direct asset manager contacts. I said within the first year. Well, I got those in the first month. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind, especially when you're doing our banking blitzkrieg, which is something we're doing in late part of January, February for a few people. We announced it on one of our Monday note calls two Monday nights ago that we're bringing on 20 people in to make bank phone calls and literally calling on a regular basis. And they're going to be calling from their house. They're not going to be here in the office because that would be a little crazy. Okay. But they'll be combining the list together at the end of the 4 weeks to make it. So I think we got like 1 or 2 spots available. If you're interested, drop me an email at scott@WeCloseNotes. Talking about the banking blitzkrieg. There is a cost to it. It's $500 fee for that, to be a part of that. If you do survive all 4 weeks and you provide your list and do everything we tell you to do, great, you'll get your deposit back. But if you don't, you miss out, I can't make phone calls this week, you avoid it. Sorry, it just is what it is. It takes time for me to pull lists and get them out and kind of put the list together. So it's not for everybody. If you're working full-time, it's not for you. I will tell you that right now because we're looking for people that can make phone calls during the time zones, during the timelines that we've talked about doing so that we can maximize the phone calls and the opportunities. And then any lists that we get come in, the 20 people will basically split in profits from anything that's sold off of that. So a lot of fun. We did this a while back, a couple years since we've done it again, but I'm a big believer that 2018 is the year of the bank asset sale versus the hedge fund sale. So, and I think it's, as you have competition entering the market, that low-hanging fruit gets bought up and gets overcrowded with buyers. You've got to separate yourself and take it a little bit higher. Go a little bit further. Build an actual business out of what we're doing. Okay? You're answering somebody on there?
Yeah, Robert said he would like to get on the banking blitzkrieg.
Robert, no offense, you're too brand new, my friend. You're too brand new. Okay? And one big thing you've got to keep in mind too, everybody, these asset managers don't have time to talk for 30, 40 minutes. Okay? And that's not directed at Robert. That's just directed at a lot of people. Some people are very good about taking a 5-minute conversation and dragging it into 15. You don't want to do that. You want to be very direct, specific, and things like you're rocking and rolling because you have to value their time. All right? These asset managers are busy. They don't have time to go all the way around left and take left turns and be on a NASCAR race to get things done. So be specific. Hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're doing. Get rock and roll. Like I said, if you're brand new, never been through one of our workshops, this is not for you. Okay? If you're brand new, very brand new, it's not something you want to do because you would burn bridges more so than actually create them by building asset managers and stuff like that. So we're looking for lean, mean, bank calling machines. So questions? Now, pricing expectations. You're going to get some people asking for pricing expectations. We covered that a little bit earlier. Not only do you want to ask what the asset managers are looking for in this, but if they, the last thing you want to do is get something and they ask you, well, we want 75 cents on the dollar for this. Okay, is it almost an REO? No, you got to foreclose on it. It's in Florida. Does it take a year? No, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. Another thing you don't want to do, avoid the one-off crazy deals. We get these sometimes from asset managers. Oh, I've got a 600 ranch equestrian farm down in the middle of swampland. That doesn't make any sense. Stick to your bread and butter assets. We're looking for single-family homes. Okay. $500,000 or less. All right. And we're also looking for small balance commercial stuff. Don't ask for apartments. Okay. It doesn't make any sense. Just get a list. We're looking for small balance apartment. Small balance commercial stuff, usually $2 million or less on UPB. Now, values will vary depending on what you pull comps at. So always go off of UPB because that's what the banks are thinking of. They're looking at UPB. It's up to us as investors to reevaluate those and find out a true value of those assets and then making our bid off of that. Now, making a bid back to asset managers is very simple. It's usually just an email or a spreadsheet. Sometimes they'll ask for a letter of intent, which is a 2-page document basically talking about what you need and other things like that so they can take it to their loan committees. Okay. But usually it's a longer process to get assets closed from banks and asset managers. Okay. They've got to go in front of committee, which that loan committee may meet once a month or once every 2 weeks before they can make a decision. That's why they want your email or your letter of intent, what you're looking for and what you need to get things closed. So, plus oftentimes you can get longer than 3 to 7 days. You only get 7 days, or you can get up to 30 days to get a deal closed direct from a bank. Especially the bigger the asset or the more that you're buying, the easier it is to get that longer time frame to get things closed. But they don't care where the cash is coming from. All they care is that you can close. All they care about is that your stuff shows up on time and you can rock and roll these things. Sometimes you can drag stuff out and ask for longer time frames too, depending on the holidays and other things that happen. Like Joe and Jamie said that they drag it out another 2 weeks because they told the bank that their funder was in Houston during the Harvey flood, which is not actually accurate, but it worked. Okay. Normal sales contract on a loan sale is going to be like 21 plus pages from a bank, and maybe even longer. Depends. So you want to make sure to read it. Beautiful thing is most of these banks have started foreclosures on a lot of their stuff. So you're going to take over. You step right in the bank's shoes. You may not have to pay a retainer. There's been several times we've bought commercial assets and didn't have to pay the attorneys because they already been paid in full for the foreclosure process. And we have to say thank you to the previous seller. So questions, comments from anybody? Cool. So that's kind of where we're at. How are we doing on time on this one? Do you know?
I want to say 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty normal. Look, calling asset managers, is effective. It's still kind of the phone call to the email. Email if you can first. If not, do a phone call and then an email follow-up, and then rotate to get to that fifth contact. First maybe an email, a phone call, then an email, then maybe a LinkedIn, then maybe a follow-up phone call and a follow-up email. Trust me, if you do this, if you do 5 follow-ups to at least 100 asset managers on a regular basis, you don't need 1,000 deal sources. 5 to 10 will feed you enough on a regular basis that you don't have to do a lot of work. A lot of times you can buy and be done with it and just have stuff on a regular basis that comes to you. Because a lot of these asset managers, you got to realize banks are very secure about their email. They don't have lists that they send out on a regular basis. Some do, but for the most part, a lot of them, they've got their sources, and it's often who's in front of them when stuff hits their desk. So another thing to keep in mind too is banks have multiple asset managers most of the time, especially depending on how big the institution is. They'll have a residential and a commercial, and they may have multiple of each. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're talking to one asset manager, ask them the question: Are you the only asset manager? Do you handle just a portion of the portfolio? Do you know if any of your colleagues in your same job titles would have anything? Could you put me in touch with them? Not difficult to do. We did a phone call on one of our virtual workshops back where the person we were talking to was like, oh yeah, we got several. We got 8 of them. Who would you like to speak to first? All right. And then just follow back up. Well, let me get that person's name, email, and I'll be glad to follow up with them and go from there. But look, this is a rinse and repeat aspect of it. It's not the glorified thing of sending it to a hedge fund manager. They send you a list and you got to run through it and compete with everybody else. Very rarely will you have a bank. Once you go to contract, very rarely we have a bank pull an asset from you unless something weird has happened. The only time I've had assets pulled from a bank is if the borrower did a full payoff or did a modification sort while we were in the process of due diligence and stuff like that. And then the bank says, well, we're pulling that asset. It's no longer for sale because it's no longer non-performing. So something to keep in mind with that. And most of the time, the banks will have it with their servicing company, whether it's them servicing, or they may have it with a sub-servicer, Aquin or SPS or something like that you would have to have transfer over to. So You might also want to reach out to, business development managers at servicing companies, as they work with a lot of investors like you and me, and us out there that have 20 or 2,000 notes with them, and they may know somebody who's looking to sell stuff on a regular basis. And then that's the case. It's just, hey, I need to speak to your business development manager. Do you know anybody you guys deal with that maybe looking to sell assets? I would like to keep them with you, or I'd like for you to retain the servicing rights to those assets. That's a magic word. It's a magic word. All right. We want to retain servicing with you guys. Last thing you want to call me, hey, do you know anybody selling? And we can move them to Madison Management, take them off your way, take them off your hands, and take away business from you. That's not effective. Always talk about retaining servicing. I don't care if you plan on transferring after 90 days to somebody, but don't transfer right off the bat. Trust me, no business development guy is ever going to call you back on that. Okay? Any other final questions or comments from anybody out there, Nicole?
No.
All right. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully it helps you guys get rocking and rolling and things like that. Now, the thing to keep in mind, not much stuff happening the next 5 or 10 days. Why? Because of Thanksgiving. Okay? Thanksgiving. Not much is going to happen come probably starting tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, especially next week. People are going to be taking that off for vacation, coming back on the 1st, and then they're working probably the first 2 weeks of the year. What you have to realize, if you did want to call banks and try to find some stuff before the end of the year, I would not be calling this week. I'd be calling starting like that Monday, the 5th. Well, don't call Mondays, call the 6th. My apology. Because a lot of times the banks and the asset managers will want to get stuff removed or sold by the end of the year. Hence the tape that we're working through, right, Jen?
Yes.
Asset manager wants to move those 100 assets plus as much as they can before the last business day of the year, which in this case would be the 29th of December. So keep that in mind. If you're going to knock on it, knock on the walls, knock on the doors, knock on the phones to reach out to asset managers. You might be able to get some stuff done on Tuesday of next week, but I wouldn't probably waste my time doing anything on Wednesday because most of the administrative staff is going to be off enjoying Turkey Day with their family. Yum, gobble, gobble turkey dressings, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, brewskis. All right. Black Friday. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Well, hey, that will wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. Once again, as always, thank you for listening. Make sure to leave a review if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher. If you're following us on Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo, thank you so much for listening. And feel free to share this episode. If this episode is valuable for you, feel free to share it across the platforms or share it to your database. We're here to help, and we look forward to helping you grow and climb the ladder to success so we can all see you at the top. Bye, everybody.